Today's story is about thousands of people who looked at the obvious path and then looked at their own map instead. And what they found on the other side of that decision lasted for generations. Welcome to History I Just Learned, the husband and wife duo learning about history as we go and discover the human lessons behind it. My name is Sergio.
And I'm Zaira.
And we are here. Sweetie, I want to start today by talking to you about the year we met. We met in 2016.
Yes.
At work. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
We started going out and then we decided to be serious in the relationship. I think as soon as we decided that, I soon proposed to you.
Yeah, it was really quick.
Yeah. And I remember that making that decision, things got very complicated because I was listening to so many people saying that I shouldn't do it for reasons that now I consider to be superficial, But at the time, I was confused. I didn't know whether I was 100% on board. But then, after all the questions kept coming, I still wanted to be with you.
That's nice.
Yeah. So the good thing about it is that I think in hindsight, I think we made the right decision.
I think so too.
We have two beautiful children, two beautiful daughters, and I think
we got more than what we bargained for.
So how about you? Have you ever felt that you're going against the grain?
Yes. With the second birth,
Mm-hmm.
when the home birth route, and people just had a lot of opinions about it because when the Hispanic community, they used to, hospital and you do what the doctor says and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And with us, when they found out that what we were doing, it was kind of like you putting your life in danger, you putting your baby's life in danger. But in reality, it was just something that it has been done through many years in the past. And, it was hard during pregnancy because they had those comments like, oh, what if something happens? What if this? When they didn't really, sit down and ask, oh, okay, how is it going to be like? It was more like, oh, warning me instead of understanding why we were taking this decision.
Yeah. So most of us have a moment like that where the direction you felt pulled toward did not match what everyone around you was saying. Maybe it was your career that nobody understood, a move that looked risky, a relationship that did not fit the expected script, a business idea people thought was too out there, and the pressure to go an obvious path, to go a certain way is real because the obvious path has evidence behind it. It worked for other people. It is familiar. It is safe. It is 1840s, Texas. And if you are enslaved, the math on escaping is brutal. The only option anyone talks about is going north, Canada, the Free States. That is the Underground Railroad everyone knows. But Canada from Texas is over 2,000 miles away, and every single one of those miles runs straight through slave territory. Every unfamiliar face is a potential threat. And here's the part that makes things even worse: the Fugitive Slave Act, which means even if someone reaches a free state, they're not actually safe. They can still be legally captured and sent back. So, for most people in Texas, the only direction everyone talks about is basically survive 2,000 miles of the most dangerous terrain possible. And then there is hope. Now, look at the map differently. Mexico is right there. Depending on where in Texas, sometimes less than 150 miles from the border. And here is something even better. Mexico had already abolished slavery in 1829, 30 years before Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. And it was not symbolic. Mexican law was clear. The moment someone crossed onto Mexican soil, they are free. No conditions, no exceptions. No one could come and take him back. The man who made that happen was not a wealthy politician, making a safe, calculated decision. His name was Vicente Guerrero. Mexico wins independence in 1821. Guerrero becomes a national hero. And in 1829, he becomes President of Mexico. Sweetie, did you know that Mexico abolished slavery before the US?
I did not know that. Actually, it's a shocker to me.
Yes, when you told me about it, I was like envious. I was like, wait, hold on. What about the Dominican Republic? Did we abolish slavery before Mexico and before America? Because I feel like you have
An upper hand.
an upper
We're
hand
better.
in the moral fight or the moral game
Yes.
that your country was able to abolish slavery before America. And it turns out that we did. 1822, 7 years before you guys, the Dominican Republic abolished slavery for the first time. So that's awesome. Guys, please support the Dominican Republic because we are the better country.
Yeah, right.
You don't think so?
I mean, we could be at the same level.
No, we're better. On September 15, 1829, the eve of Mexican Independence Day, he issues what becomes known as the Guerrero Decree. It is not a long, complicated document. It is 2 sentences. Slavery is forever abolished in the Republic. Consequently, all those individuals who until this day look upon themselves as slavery are free. How awesome is that? Now, the wealthy elite in Mexico City are furious. People who benefited from that old system now despise Guerrero. They call him Black Guerrero as an insult. A man of mixed race from the poor south of the country in the presidential palace. He offends everything they believe about how the world should work. And in Texas, which is still part of Mexico at this point, American settlers who have been bringing slave people with their immediate desire to enslave them, they are panicking. The local police chief in Texas refuses to even publish the decree. He writes to the governor asking for an exception. Texas gets one. But here's what they cannot control. The word gets out anyway. Across the Rio Grande, in whispers, in fields at night, Mexico abolished slavery. Cross the river and you are free. 3 months after issuing the decree, Guerrero's own vice president leads a coup against him. On February 14th, 1831, Vicente Guerrero is executed by firing squad. He was killed for what he believed, betrayed by the people who were supposed to be on his side, but they could not kill the decree. It stayed on the books. Mexican citizens enforced it, and the word kept traveling, quietly, in the dark, but traveling, across the Rio Grande for the next 30 years after his death. A man who was betrayed and executed changed the destination of thousands of people he never met. Walk south, cross the river, you are free. And for thousands of people, that whisper is enough to stake everything on. The stretch of land between Texas plantations and Rio Grande, called the Nueces Strip, is about 150 miles of the harshest terrain in North America. Barely any water, no shade, extreme heat, rattlesnakes, and slave catchers who patrol it specifically because they know what direction people are headed. And these people do not have horses. They do not have maps. Most of them have never been more than a few miles from the plantation that they were born on. So, do you see the irony of today's climate, the political aspect of it, and back then when?
Oh, yes, because like right now we're trying to keep people from getting in. And
Yeah,
back then we were stopping them from getting out. It's like, we have right now border patrol so people doesn't come in.
yeah,
And then back then it's like the slave patrol so they don't get out. I mean, it's
yeah.
a little bit funny if you think about it.
But I have another question. If that's your only shot, if that's the only opportunity you have, do you take it?
Knowing how I am, probably not, because I would chicken out. I would chicken out. It's like my mentality is kind of like, oh, especially if I have family
Yeah.
and my, being slaves with me is just kind of like putting everyone at risk. So I wouldn't, I guess in my mom brain, wouldn't, I wouldn't go forward. Some
Yeah.
moms would. I know some people would, but me, knowing me, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah. This is where the story starts. 1808, one of the earliest documented cases on this route, a man recorded only as Richard shows up at a small Spanish outpost in Texas. He tells his story. His family had been broken apart and sold to different plantations scattered across the southern Louisiana. He manages to escape. He gets out. And then, instead of running, he goes back in. He finds his wife. He finds 3 of his 7 children. He tries to get the other 4. He cannot. So he takes who he has and leads them through over 100 miles of swamp and wilderness. They cross the Sabine River. They reach Spanish territory. He left 4 of his children. He had no choice, and he kept moving. Sweetie, he got out, then went back in for his family, knowing that he might not make it. Is that love or is that crazy?
I think that's a crazy love.
Yeah.
But then I think about his situation, and as a mom, like imagine, you get one kid out and one it's left behind. How is that fair? Not fair because of the kid, but it's like, how do you live with that? Like, you're free and your child's over there being slave, being treated in the worst way possible. And as a parent, I think everyone will agree that you wouldn't live your life, even though you're free, like you will live with the guilt. You live your life thinking about your children and how mistreated they're being,
Yeah.
and that you couldn't do anything about it.
Like 4 out of the 7 children left behind.
For us, well, I mean, we have 2 girls. We'll be like, we save one and one is left.
Oh my God, I can imagine.
I couldn't think about it. Like,
I don't think you will be actually free in a way because you move on, but it's like,
the guilt.
wow, oh my, it's just like, it's overwhelming, I would imagine. Thinking about, are they alive? How are they doing?
Especially in those times, yeah, because like it's not only the mistreatment, but it's like life and death situation. Because
And like, it is that, and also the fact that the small chance of hope, because if they're dead, okay, they're dead.
yes,
But it's like, I could have I could have gone for them. I could have rescued them. Maybe I
what
have another
ifs.
chance.
Yes,
Oh my God.
I think I probably will be living my life thinking of going back,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. I mean, you're free, but are you really free?
Yeah.
Mentally, I don't think you
No,
will be.
I don't think
Not
you
like
are.
that. Not in that situation.
Yeah. 1819. 5 men escaped together on horseback from a cotton plantation in Texas. One of them has a letter R branded on his face. R for runaway. Because he tried before. Got caught, and as punishment, they pressed a hot iron to his face so that anyone who looked at him for the rest of his life would know. He tries again anyway. The 5 of them ride south for hundreds of miles. They cross the border. They make it. Now, these people are not making this journey a total isolation. There is no organized system like the Northern Underground Railroad. No network, not safe house, but small acts of help exist along the way. Mexican workers in Texas, called Tejanos, often cross the path with enslaved people on plantations and farms. They quietly pass information, pointed people toward the river, told them what to expect. This happened so regularly that Texas eventually passed a law making it illegal for Tejanos and enslaved people to even speak to each other. So they outlawed conversation. What does that tell you about how much power information had back then?
I think it was pretty powerful because
shutting people up.
Exactly. And it's like they knew what was at stake and
Hmm.
they didn't want their slave to go. And not only because I feel like in their minds, it's like, I pay for this. You're staying here. And I don't think they want, Tejanos telling them where to go or where to escape when you just pay a lot of money. I don't know how much that they were, they were paying for a slave. But I feel more of that feeling, that you're, the authority, like, oh, you're not going anywhere. I pay for you. You're staying here. And I don't want anyone sweet talk to your ear telling you that there's hope. Because I feel
Hmm.
that mainly that's why they wanted to kill the
To
hope
kill
of
the hope.
them
Yes.
getting, because you know what they said. The last thing that dies is hope. So
Hmm.
they just wanted to kill not only, don't talk to them, but like their hopes of being free, I guess, of being free from slavery.
There is a man named Nathaniel Jackson, white man from Alabama. In 1857, he moved to Texas with his wife, Matilda, a woman he had formerly enslaved, then freed, then married. He buys over 5,000 acres right on the banks of Rio Grande. His ranch becomes a non-stop. People heading for the border know if they can reach to Jackson's land, there is food, clothing, and a safe place to rest. And a boat right across the river. His great 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 granddaughter Diana Cardenas still lives near that land today. She says her grandmother used to bring her to the family cemetery and tell a story about the people they helped cross. And a formerly enslaved man named Felix Haywood, interviewed by researchers decades later, remember exactly what people used to say back then. All we had to do was walk, but walk south, and we'd be free as soon as we crossed the Rio Grande. Hundreds of slaves did go to Mexico and got on all right. We would hear about them and how they were going to be Mexicans. That's awesome. They were going to be Mexican, not free in America someday, not going to Canada, going to be Mexican. Because Mexico was a country that had already decided everyone here is a person. And thousands of people bet their lives on that idea. Most of them, thankfully, made it. So, what actually happens when someone crosses that river? Honest answer: Mexico is not paradise. There is racism, there is poverty. Some people find working conditions on the other side that are not as different from what they left as they hoped. But one thing is completely different from anything they have ever known. The law recognizes them as human beings. They can go to court, file legal complaints, change jobs, own property, get married, hold public office. They are not someone else's legal possession. They are citizens. And the Mexican government at every level actually enforces that. Sweetie, why do you think America, which was also founded on freedom, could not get there for another 30 years?
I think it's all about the money because if we backtrack to our first episode,
Mm-hmm.
after, they signed the independence, they start trading with the world.
Yes.
So one of the biggest trades was slavery. So if
Mm-hmm.
you think about it, slavery was giving them a lot of money. And I feel it also falls into that gap where like they wanted to give everyone, it's like they wanted to keep everyone happy because during slavery, you have like the North, that were free, and then the South that they still have slaves.
Yes, the thing that I'm thinking about is they had to compromise, and that compromise like stayed for decades.
Yes.
Like from the beginning, remember the Declaration of Independence? They have to compromise with the South.
They needed to look unite.
They needed to look united, and like over the years they were trying to like, oh, okay, we need to stay compromised. We need to find common ground and stuff like that because it's the United States of America.
Yeah, I think it's like get the country united for one, and the other one the money. Because,
Yeah.
if they're not getting any money out of slavery, then you, like, look, what are you doing? You're just spending. You're
Mm-hmm.
not getting anything out of it.
Here's an awesome story. August 20th, 1850. a town called Reynosa, Mexican state of Tamaulipas, right across Rio Grande from Texas. A man named Manuel Luis del Fierro is asleep in his house. The middle of the night, he wakes up to screaming. He grabs his rifle and runs towards the noise. In his living room, two American men are holding a gun on his wife's maid. His name is Matilda Hens. She had escaped slavery in Louisiana, made the long journey south, crossed the river, built a life here. She's part of that household, part of the community. And two men from Louisiana crossed the border in the middle of the night and drag her back. Del Fierro points his rifle at them. One man runs. The other, a man from Cheneyville, Louisiana, is arrested by the local police and he's sent back without Matilde. She stays, she's free, and the people from Mexico make sure of it. So Del Fierro helping out Matilde. Why do you think he did that?
Well, number one, because they were trespassing his property.
Right.
You wake up at 2 a.m., you had two gringos in your house. Like, what are you doing? And with guns, I wouldn't be so be like, oh, okay, go
And there
have
is
some tea.
and there is also the sense of duty, like right versus wrong.
Exactly, yes. And I feel this is something that they probably, we're used to since, the slaves will escape to Mexico. There are probably stories that we'll hear about gringos coming back and trying to get them.
Yeah.
So I feel it's a little bit of both. The trespassing and also knowing what they were there for.
The people who make it build real lives. They marry, they raise children. Some of them disappear so completely into Mexican society that there is no record of them, which is exactly the point. But one group stands out above all the others, the Mascogos, also called Black Seminoles, people of African and Native American descent who had escaped slavery in Florida and eventually made it all the way to Mexico. The Mexican government gives them land, then arms them as a military colony to guard the border. Formerly enslaved people, now soldiers, holding a rifle on behalf of the country that gave them what America would not. If you have been through everything they went through, would you pick up that rifle?
Of course, out of gratitude, it's like, you're the country that made me feel human. Yeah, like I would die for it. It's like I'm willing to fight for you because
In a way,
in
you
a
fought
way
for
you fought
me.
for me. Yes.
The story ends in Spanish, literally. The people who crossed that river, they stayed, they became Mexican. Their children grew up speaking Spanish. Their story ended in archives in Tamaulipas and Coahuila, towns across the Rio Grande. Did you ever learn any of this in school?
To be honest, I did not. I didn't even know that Mexico had slaves. Until like I read the story and I was like, what? Like mind
Yeah.
you that Mexico is really patriotic and they will teach you everything about their history. But at least when I was studying over there, I was never thought that we had, at some point they had slaves. Because like our independence was in 1810, I think.
hmm
And they tell you the story, how it happened, who helped, but they never mentioned slaves. And back then, if we abolish it in, what was it, 1829,
9.
then by then there were slave people right there. I mean, I'm not sure for any Mexicans listeners, you listeners that went to school in Mexico, did they ever teach you that? Because I don't remember. I remember they taught me the history, but not that there were slaves in Mexico.
And also, if any one of you is going to school right now and you're listening, let us know if you're being taught about slavery in Mexico right now.
Or if you even knew there was slavery.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, the one thing that I know is, like, slavery was everywhere. At some point in history, everywhere in the world, there were slaves. So there is that. But I didn't know. I didn't really know either. It's just like, it's history tends to be like America is a huge country, It's a very uh, successful country. It's like the country that a lot of people look at. And slavery is like very tied to America because it is the biggest country in the hemisphere, you
The
know?
more known.
Yeah. But it's thinking Mexico.
Like I learned about slavery here in the
Hmm.
US when I, started studying over here.
Right.
But in Mexico, like I said, I didn't even know we had any
Right.
slavery there.
These people did not have a map. There was no organized system waiting for them going south. The whole system said, go north. Every story, every plan, every conventional piece of wisdom, north, Canada. And thousands of people looked at 2,000 miles of enemy territory and said, actually, my answer is not that way. Del Fierro, for example, with the rifle, Jackson with the boat, none of them waited for the laws in America to change. None of them waited for the official story to catch up with what they already knew was right. They just acted on what they saw in front of them. The path was always there. The Rio Grande was always there. Mexico had already made its position clear 30 years earlier. The information existed. The route was real. The only thing it required was being willing to look in the direction everyone else was ignoring. Everyone was going north, freedom was south. And the people who figured that out changed everything for themselves and everyone who came after them. These people did not have a guarantee. Richard did not have a guarantee when he went back to his family. The man with the R on his face did not have a guarantee when he tried again. Guerrero did not have a guarantee when he signed that decree, knowing that it would cost him. What they had was clarity about what they believed was right. I think about that when I think about sitting with all those voices telling me which way to go. About the moment you have to decide, do I follow the crowd's map or do I trust what I actually see? These people looked at 2,000 miles of slave territory and said, that is not my answer. They looked at a river, at the Rio Grande, and said, that's it. When everyone is going north, your answer might be going south. Consider for a second, you stop following the map everyone handed you. You look at your own situation honestly. You see a direction that does not make sense to the people around you. And instead of waiting for everyone to agree, you start walking. That is what Guerrero did with 260 days and a 2-sentence decree. That is what Richard did when he turned around and went back. That is what thousands of people did with nothing but a whisper and a river. Most of them made it. Maybe in the direction that nobody around you understands right now is exactly where you are supposed to go. Remember, when everyone is going north, your answer might be going south. Guys, thank you so much for listening. If this episode made something to you, follow us. Leave a 5-star review and share it with someone who needs to hear it. We post every Monday. See you next week.
Bye-bye.